career growth. And for country, of course, we would like to contribute in the progress of India as well as the United States. And for community, we reach out to the local organization, student organization, and participate in community events and activities. So that is Bharatiyam. And Bharatiyam, as I mentioned, has 3 councils. So we network with professionals, scholars, and students. So similarly, we have professional councils, student council, and scholar council. And today's talk is organized by professional council because the topic is relevant to professionals. So talking about professional councils, the mission is to develop and create a community of socially responsible and highly talented individuals who are working in the United States. And we want to build leaders for tomorrow and contribute betterment of society. And that's the mission of the Professional Council. And there are various initiatives that the council provides, which is like monthly meetups for professionals and Bharatiyam career network platform, and spreading awareness on various topics concerning Indian Americans in the United States. This professional council at Bharatiyam has organized events in the past. So the events like H-1B visa and immigration webinar. There was a discussion on India's response to pandemic COVID-19, and there was a celebration of India's Independence Day. And we have today's event, that's current event, and there are upcoming events. We have one event in April that's on tax filing for people on F1, H1B, L1, and H4 visas. And there is an event in May, which is on leadership development. And there are future events that are being planned currently, which are like chapter level activities, because there will be regional chapters of Bharatiyam in each of the states in the US, and there are online boot camps being planned, trainings and mentorship programs, and volunteering opportunities. So if you're interested, please join us. Our contact detail is provided in the email that you have received, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. With that, I would like to introduce our speaker today. As we are working, like you and I are working professionals, and we realize that people are the core of the organization, be it any company, any corporate structure, it's people who run the company. So the type of people, the talent of people, qualifications of the people, and how people feel at their workplace decides the growth of the organization. So we have Miss Nidhi Saigal among us, who have been spending her whole career to innovate and find ways to get good talent across the board, which leads to have success for both people and organizations. So for growth for employee as well as the employer. And she has done her bachelor's in engineering and master's in human resources. She is people's person and loves to interact and inspire people. And she has been working in human resources and talent acquisition all across the globe. She has been involved in hiring process of candidates from entry level to executive, both in India and the United States. She has worked in companies like Nutanix and Google. She has placed over 100 candidates in the Google, and she was involved in making hiring decisions and defining policies while in Nutanix. She is currently working as a delivery manager in AMISEQ and manages a number of candidates and top software clients such as Netflix, eBay, and Dropbox. Nidhi ji is a strong human resources professional, highly skilled in talent management, executive search, employee engagement, executive coaching, and change management. With that, I'm very happy to have Nidhi ji with us and request her to share her insights with us. So Nidhi ji, over to you.
Thanks, Nidhi ji, for such a warm welcome. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Yes. Alrighty. So thanks again for such a warm welcome. So I will be chatting with all you youngsters today about salary negotiations, how to go about it, and how we actually have to interact with our employers and how we deal with this whole process of salary negotiation. So to start with, I would go over a small story, which is a real life incident of one of my friends who actually was interviewing for one of the company. in Seattle. It's Adobe, and he had a very good interview process. It was such that he got a call from the recruiter, and he had to actually travel to Seattle for the interview process. So once he was there, they gave him very good accommodation, booked his flights, and the whole interview process and the candidate experience process was so smooth. He totally enjoyed it. So when he had his on-site interviews, everybody was, gave him a very warm welcome, and the HR was very kind to him. The interviewers, gave him lunch, and the whole process was so smooth that he totally enjoyed, and he knew his interview went very well. So once he flew back to his place and he started thinking over it. What actually happened is few days later, the HR called him and they told him that he would like to, offer him. So what exactly happened? Now the HR comes back asking him that they want to make a verbal offer and they asked him what his expected salary was. Now this put him in a tough situation, what he should be doing. So there are two things that happens here. One, he tells the number and the HR is like, okay, cool, this sounds good. And the next day he gets the offer letter. If he does this, what's in his mind? It, the only thing in his mind is, what if I could have got something better? But this is what if he would have not negotiated. But my friend did negotiate. So what happened is he gave the number and the company straight said no. They said this is not that we can actually work with. So he just said, okay, that means you guys do not want good programmers. But the way he said it was very firm, and there were few more sentences that he added, and he actually got the offer that he deserved. And the company was very well knew that he actually cleared the tough interview process, did his coding very well, so they did not mind giving him the salary that he asked for. Hence, he's very happy today and he's working in Adobe. To start with, let's go over the similar thing today. So as you all can see the agenda, we'll go over how, why, and when to negotiate, what are the do's and don'ts of negotiation, what are the tips, how you should be knowing your value, and what are the other areas of negotiation which we normally avoid. So in a nutshell, what exactly it is research, don't underestimate. So who you are looking for and what kind of a culture you want. Other than that, you should be aware about what your value is in the market. So with that, it is simple that if you take United States, every state has different cost of living, different taxes, and it's all different, but you should know what your profile in that particular state, what is the salary range for a person with your profile, and what you should be earning and what your market value is. So that is what I mean by research. Never underestimate. You should not be underestimating your worth because it's like you should never put yourself down the salary range, or you should not even over expect. So there is a way to communicate and to know what range you fall into. And you should also know what are the benefits that you ask for in a salary, because it's always not the base pay that you consider, but also other parts and parcels which you get with your salary as a whole. So a lot of companies offer benefits, a lot of companies have good products, a lot of companies have a good culture. So you have to take everything into consideration when it comes to salary, because end of the day, it is very obvious that you're looking for a job and you're looking for a hike, but it's also that you're looking for your career growth. So it's about how you balance between your career growth, your aspirations, and the amount that you receive for it. And you have to be always polite when you come, communicate it to your employers or the interviewers, because end of the day, it's just the way you communicate and the way you talk and put your points forward. So when do you negotiate? This is the most important question which actually comes to a lot of people's mind. So when you negotiate is first, a lot of you would have experience, when a recruiter calls you, the first thing they ask is, okay, what is your expected salary? Because they would not ask you what your current pay package is. That's a very wrong question to ask. So they ask you what your expectation is. So never ever give up the number right there itself. There is a way to ask. What you normally can do is you can say, okay, for this role, what is your company willing to offer? What is the budget that your hiring manager has kept in mind? So that way you actually get to know if that budget even meets your requirements and if you want to even go ahead with the process. And second thing, you never negotiate unless you have a job offer. Now, if Imagine the recruiter calls you, there's a pre-screening call, you have a good discussion, and then you go and say, no, this is not the salary I'm looking for, this is my budget, this is what I'm looking for. The recruiter will straightforward not send your profile to the hiring manager also, and it's there and then no. So you do not want to decline your chances of even getting to interview. So what you do is you never negotiate and never even talk about salary even during your interview process, be it your hiring manager or be it even the interviewers or be it the last round that you're talking to, maybe the most executive person that you're interviewing with. You never talk numbers there. Numbers are only spoken once you have a verbal offer in hand, and if they give a thumbs up that, okay, we want to go ahead with your, candidature. And other thing, you never speak about your numbers if you are not aware about it. Then if you do not know, you can always say, I am still researching and trying to find out what my range would be and how it deals with in this market. But you never give up a number. Okay, 75K is what I'm expecting. No, you never do that. Next, when you come to how you negotiate, okay, so this is a brief flow chart. So this is not like a thumb rule that you follow that, okay, this is the way you negotiate, but this is just a brief flow chart that, I've created to know how you should be negotiating. First and foremost step here is that you should be prepared. You should know what your value is in the market. And honestly, guys, when it comes to salary negotiation, the first and most important thing is you should know what your market value is, because that is the main deciding factor when it comes to what you deserve for the work that you do. And then you talk to your recruiters, because that's the way you will be communicating to them. No matter what, the recruiters are your first step to get you an interview in a company, in a dream job that you're looking for. So what you communicate to the recruiters is the whole thing that matters. And you need to organize your thoughts. When I say organize your thoughts, you need to have your step by step in mind as to why you want to go ahead with this company or with this role. So over the period of time, the recruiters, or you can give them different names, talent advisors, sources, they are all so aligned and they're so well trained now that they ask you multiple questions before they go ahead with your candidature and place it to the hiring manager. They may ask you questions like, why are you looking out for a change? Even if it's a salary hike, you never say, I'm looking for more money. There are ways that you say, okay, I'm looking for a career growth. I like this company. I like your culture. I like the products that you guys are into. So there are terms to use there. So when the recruiter asks you, you have to always have your thoughts aligned as to what the recruiter wants to hear. And you never talk numbers there. So you give that's what I mean by when you organize your thoughts as to what you like about the company and why you want to interview with them, what motivated you to interview with that company. Then a lot of recruiters are very honest and blunt because they do not want to waste anybody's time. They want to be transparent. They may give you a range. First, they may not ask you. They may ask you what is your salary expectation. That's when you never say a range and you never give a number. But if you ask them, okay, can you give me what is in the company's budget for this role? Because everybody has a budget. The hiring manager never gives a rec without giving the budget. So they do have approval. They always do it. So you can ask them what the range is, and if they are very much adamant on asking you, you can go towards the top of the range. If you choose mid of the range, it's not going to work out, and low, you should definitely never be doing it. This is a very tough decision that it's very tough for anybody to take. When I say be willing to walk away, questions can come in mind. Okay, what if I do not have a counter offer? It's not easy for me to walk away with. But when I say be willing to walk away, which means you have to be firm that this is what I'm expecting, and if I don't deserve this, if I'm not getting it, it's okay. I'll look out for more opportunity. That shows how confident you are, and then that confidence is seen. That does inspire the companies and make them think about if they are willing to go out of the budget and give you what you actually deserve. And when I say make sure that you are ready, make sure that you have some questions in mind for the interviewers, for the recruiters, and you know what responsibilities will be assigned to you and what skill set they are looking for, which you have, and why you are demanding for a particular pay. Salary negotiation can be a very tough conversation. A lot of you will not be very confident in having it. So it's always best when I say have your thoughts, always practice and rehearse in front of the mirror. That's what I mean here. When and know what your thoughts are, and what are the bullet points that you should be talking to and communicate. So you are not nervous, you're not having anxiety when you are actually communicating it to the other side of the table. Okay, so here I cover two things: starting the conversation, making the ask, which is the most tough and the most important thing when it comes to negotiating. So all you have to do is you have to have a lot of confidence, and you have to have a very firm way of talking to your employer or the interviewers, where you actually show them that what skill set, what accomplishments you have, and what you have done in the past. So what happens is, when you are actually talking to them about your salary or what you deserve, you always say that, okay, when in my last employee organization, this is what I tried to achieve. This is what I did. This is my accomplishment. I was involved into this. So when you use those terms and say proudly about your accomplishment, that shows what extra skill set you have, that you deserve such and such a pay. And you have to be very positive with your approach when you are talking to them, and you should not be adamant and you should not be pushy. And the most important thing is you should be listening to when they are saying. A lot of employers, especially when it comes to executives hiring, it does get a little tough, because executive hiring is very tough, because there are a lot of companies in the market who are trying to pull them, what we call as headhunt them, and they are willing to pay them more and more, because it's all about the competition. Everybody wants the best person in their upper level of management. So that's what happens is when you are supposed to be positive. So one thing is, never say no, because if the other side is speaking and you're like, no, 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 this is not what I'm looking for, and you keep saying no, that's taken in a very negative way. So never use that, but use terms like, okay, instead of can we do this, and in a polite way saying, okay, what if we do this? Is this negotiable? So there are terms that you use saying, of course, I appreciate. So these are some certain terms that you use when you're actually talking to them. And most importantly, you have to focus on the market value, like I mentioned earlier. Uh, you should know what your range is, because when you're very confident with what your range market value is, okay, for my experience, my skill set in such and such a company, I deserve so much. So when you know what your market value is, you can put it in a more firm way and in a confident way. Now, how do you know your market value? You mostly know it by using your websites that you have. You have Glassdoor, you have salary.com, you have so many other websites, you have LinkedIn. So they normally tell you about, in so and so region with this resume, with this profile, with this experience, what your salary range should be. You never ever reveal those websites to your other side of the table. You never reveal it to your interviewers or to the HR saying, I have researched these websites and this is what I deserve. You research, but you never reveal those things, because, of course, that's your knowledge. You're not supposed to be letting them know. And moreover, companies have something called as employee engagement and employee relations, and there is employee branding team. So what they do is they totally know how to place their company in the market. So they know what they should be paying to the employers and engineers and maybe executives, so that they inspire candidates to join their company. So every company has their research, they do survey, and they totally know what the market value is for what role and what they should be offering. So if a team has a budget, it's not just made in the air. It is actually researched and it's made according to the market value. Also, when you are asking for negotiation, I have come across this a lot. A lot of people come up with, the normal excuses. I mean, we totally know, but you do not use excuses like, oh, I have mortgage to pay, I have childcare, I have this, I have that. Those are not reasons to use in front of an interviewer or in front of, the HR. Everybody knows why you do a job. It's all obviously for money, but you do not have to say it exactly to them, and you do not have to be so explicit about it. So when you have to plan salary negotiation, again, this is a small flowchart that I have put. Most and most important thing is research. Do your research, but never communicate it to the interviewers. Know what your value is. Then you get all the information that you need. You also should, when I say get all the information, it should be, you should know what I would say, try to get whatever information you can about the role and the skill set that you have. Then you consider that information in the current context and you determine your company value. You know, if you have a little more skill set, then you do deserve a little more pay. So that's how you actually evaluate your own value. So it's called like self-evaluation. And while you negotiate your salary, it is very obvious because you want growth in your next role. And other than just the growth, a lot of us actually are looking for career growth. It's not for short term, it's always for a long haul. It's always for, you know, long term. You do not join a company just for 6 months. Okay, 6 months, I'm going to get a salary hike, then I'm going to jump. You always join a company for your long benefit and long growth. And you obviously want to close the pay gap that you have. You know, when you quit one company and join a new company, you never join on the same pay. You always join on a little hike. So that's what I mean by is when it comes to pay gap. Then you should also be knowing what your employer should be knowing your value, and you should be able to show what skill set you have that your employer values you. And this is the most important thing. You never get anything unless you ask for it. Obviously, if you just say, okay, I'm expecting 100K, and they're like, okay, fine, you'll get the offer. And then you keep thinking after going home, what if I would have asked 120? Would I have got? Of course, you would have got it. But you should have asked for it. So you don't get anything unless you ask for it. Okay, so these are some of the key points, what you should be doing and not be doing when it comes to negotiating. Always be confident and ask for advice. So when it comes to confident, I did mention never sound pushy, but sound confident and firm. And always ask for advice. Ask for advice from your colleagues, from your ex-employees, from your connections, and also feel free to reach out to references or maybe some of the close colleagues that you are that you know who are in the company that you're applying to. So that helps you understand more better what the company is. And always be willing to negotiate, and but in a conventional way, in a polite way, and take notes and follow. Follow up is a very important part, especially after the interview. You should be following up and keeping in touch with the recruiter, so your candidate is always on the top and the interviewer is aware about it, and that shows how interested you are in the role. And when you follow, do not write email which shows that you're anxious or nervous, but actually that you are interested in the role. And never be underprepared. Never lie that, okay, my current package is this and I'm expecting this. Never lie your numbers, even if they are not asked. Never rush into the conversations, and do not be stubborn at all. And if you sound a little stubborn or maybe say things which are over the line, never over apologize. Over apologizing is a major turn off. So when I say always know your worth, first thing, this is the more, like I mentioned, this is the most important thing, and you can see from the picture itself, it speaks a lot more. So always know what your worth is. Read blogs, read online reviews, online data, and you have surveys that actually tell you what you should be actually getting for what you work. And you can talk to your co-workers only if it is legally allowed. Actually, you do not talk numbers and salary to your co-workers, but only if it's legally allowed. And talk to people in the companies and try to have connections in a lot of companies and understand what the pay range is, and um, how actually you should be placed in the market. Here are small tips. Always have the conversations at the end, at the very end of the interview process, because the more delay you do it, the more anxious the interviewers and the hiring manager gets, and more anxious they get. They want to close the rec, so it's, you don't have to negotiate a lot. They would do anything to just close their rec. Then you should know what your exactly requirements are. A lot of people only focus on the base pay, so there are a lot of other things that comes to the in your hand along with the salary. So focus on those things as well. Always do your homework with regards to the job, the culture, about the company, because there's no point in negotiating in a company if you're not even planning to join. And if you have a counter offer and you have already decided where you have to join, there's no point wasting both the parties' time. Always be very polite and have a formal tone in negotiation. Never use terms like, this is what I want and I deserve it. those are not the terms you use. You say, I think my accomplishment and my skill set matches so and so. So I think I should be capable, I deserve this. So there is a way in which you communicate your thoughts. And try to market yourself and sell yourself a lot throughout the negotiations, because that's how it gives you an upper value. And once you have actually done the negotiation, and if they say, okay, fine, we send you the formal offer letter, ask the recruiter or the HR or whoever is the point of contact to at least send an informal email or anything in writing, so the number and those terms or the discussion that happens does not change. And this is an area which a lot of us avoid when we have an offer in hand, because the main thing that we finish is, oh, base pay, this is what I deserve. But other than this, in your normal day-to-day life, guys, the most important things are again your insurance, your 401k, what percentage is the company offering, what kind of insurance does it provide, what are its sick leave policies, what are its holidays policies, do they give you time off, what kind of time off it is. And especially for youngsters and new college grads, I would say tuition reimbursement is a big thing. A lot of companies actually pay you more for tuition for the student loan that was taken. They also help you study if you are interested in more courses. So these kind of things should actually be given more importance than the base pay that's coming in hand. So these things may look very silly, but actually they have a big value in your hand. And things like relocation, and a lot of companies have very good benefits that they actually provide. So those things actually should be given more into focus. And remember that when you are discussing the offer, some companies like Amazon, they provide signing bonus. So those things actually may look, okay, this is a signing bonus, but actually it's a big thing, because you are even committing to the organization, but it also does play a good role when it comes to your overall pay. A lot of companies provide RSUs. Try to understand and learn what is the value of the company in the market and what percentage of RSUs you are getting. So these are things which normally a lot of us avoid when we are negotiating, because the mindset is such that you only think about the base pay. Okay, 150 sounds good. 150 inclusive of all or only the base, those discussions should be had with your HR, and only then you should go about accepting the offer. So that will be all, guys. Thank you so much for listening. So we can go about, any question and answers that you guys have. And here is a cheat sheet that I prepared for you all to have a look, So about the whole conversation that we had.
Thank you, Nidhi ji. Your session and your presentation and your insights were especially very useful for all the professionals, like be it the new professionals or the professionals who are already experienced and somebody who is in mid-career level, because this particular thing applies to all the jobs. It's not specific. I think be it any job that you plan to do or looking forward to in future, as you said, like, even at executive level, these would be the points that you would be considering. So really appreciate you sharing this with us, because sometimes we don't have the visibility on the other side. We are always on this side of the aisle. So it's nice to know from the human resources side and, how the thought process is and what can be done in terms of negotiating the salary. So now we'll open this session for Q&A. We have people in audience who have asked some questions. So what I'll do is I'll present the question to you, Nidhi ji, and you can share your insights over that question with us. So just let me see, what is the first question we have? Okay. So the first question we have is, as someone who is on H-1B visa, how can I negotiate benefits such as dental, insurance, 401k in addition to salary? And does the employer get any benefit for hiring an employee below the allocated budget?
Okay, so is there a way where I can actually see the question? Okay, no problem. Okay,
I can put it in chat for you if that's what that would help you. So do you want me to put it in chat to you?
Oh, yeah, I mean, so that I don't miss any point, if the question is...
Okay, so let me repeat the question. I think break it down for you. So the question is, as someone who is on H-1B visa, how can I negotiate benefits? So not just the base salary, how can I negotiate other benefits? As you mentioned, it's a package, right? Not just the base salary that counts, like your retirement plan, your health insurance, your sick leave, or any tuition reimbursement or things like that. So how that can be negotiated apart from base salary? So any arguments that you think that would help, or any words, or any, how best to communicate that with the HR or hiring manager?
Yeah, so first thing, it should not be in the mind of anybody that, okay, this is my immigration status, and that's why and will I be able to negotiate? Will I be even considered? So, like I mentioned, never fear of them saying no, no matter what immigration status or what level it is. No company directly says, yes, okay, you want this, okay, we'll give you this. No company is very direct about that.
Yeah.
So first thing, never keep it in your mind, okay, I'm an H1 or I'm an OPT or I'm, whatever immigration status it is, that what should I be asking? It is very plain here that once you have been offered, be it whatever be your immigration status, you just have to directly be very firm to them in putting your point forward, saying that, can you explain me the benefits package of your company, and can you go over the whole package that you offer to an employee in this role with this level or this grade? So when you say that, no matter what, they have to share the whole thing, whatever benefits packages they have, and whatever 401k they're offering, because actually companies do not defer the percentage of 401k or anything, especially for contractor. I mean, not contractors, I would say for H1B or for any other visas, and for US citizens different. No, the company has a norm same for all the employees. So you have to just ask them directly, asking them, okay, what is your 401k? How does it look like? And what is the employer contribution percentage? What are your insurances, and what is the percentage, and that we pay, and what is covered by the employer? You ask what are the sick days and PTO. When you ask the overall thing, they actually are not, they do not differentiate, and that's why I'm saying never keep it in your mind that based on my immigration status, okay, I'm on H1B, I'm paid 150. I'm sure that person is a citizen and he's paid 170. No, that doesn't happen.
I see. Yeah, that's a very good point to know. And so just to follow up on that, are other benefits negotiable, or those things are company policy and not negotiable, like apart from base salary?
Yes, that is benefits is something that is non-negotiable. So benefits is actually a part of company policy, and it is actually prepared by, I would say, HR business partners and HR journalists. So
Yeah.
the benefits are different in every state, I would say that, because they follow laws. So especially if you take California, there are certain number of laws that we follow, and no company can, no matter what, change it, because it's law, it has to be followed. So all the companies here follow those laws, be it like you have different laws here like Cobra law, FDA, ADA, they have to follow that. So whatever it is, the benefit package remains the same, and that is something which is non-negotiable. All you can do is maybe you can say that I do not want, if you have a insurance which is much better for you on your personal side, and you do not want from the company, you're free to say them that I do not want, I do not want insurance. That's again your will to do. If you want more contribution on 401k, you can do that. It's like every company has a maximum contribution when it comes to 401k, and that's again a law. So they never give you like, okay, this is the percentage. You can always change that percentage, saying, okay, I'm willing to give 5% or 10%, but again, that is not negotiable. So the only thing that's negotiable is the base pay that you can do, and because that's on the company budget and the overall income, that the company gets.
Yeah. Can you negotiate like work-life balance? You can request like, okay, I would like to at least have probably later half of Friday work from home, or something like that, which is kind of not company policy, but it's case by case basis. Is that negotiable according to you?
Yes. So those things are completely negotiable, especially today's world. Company gives a lot of importance to work-life balance and culture, and they want to make the employee happy. So these things are completely negotiable. I mean, you can say like, okay, I work remote. Is it okay for me to come once a month? or is it okay for me to just come once a week? Those things are completely okay. That is okay to negotiate. Again, it depends on the roles. Like if you take roles like which are like into product management or sales,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of roles having more of remote and less travel is a little difficult. But roles which are like if you take your engineering roles and which can be actually done from one place and it leads to productivity, people are open to it. So these things are completely negotiable. You can negotiate here, but not on the other laws. Yeah.
Yes, agree. Okay, thank you so much for answering that. One repeated question, which is kind of, I feel like being reframed by many people in the audience, but I'll just put it in a generic way and then I'll be more specific if needed. So so the thing is like, we are having this webinar and this discussion, but most of us are working. So we might have not had a chance to negotiate in the past. So like, can you still negotiate while you are at work or during your performance appraisal or any other way? Like, how does that work? Like once you are at the job, do you still have a chance to negotiate?
Yes. So I would say every company has their performance appraisal that happens. Some have it every year, some have it in every 6 months.
Yeah.
And if you feel like, yes, I can do better, I mean, I have done better, and maybe my performance was up to the mark, and I want to ask for a raise or something,
Mhm.
of course, you should go ahead and ask. So, first thing is you communicate it to your manager, and then you go to your maybe VP level, but you do go and you should not hesitate over there because, like I mentioned, you do not get anything unless you ask for it.
Yeah.
So, it is always good to go and ask because one thing is you get a clear picture as well if they do have the budget and the headcount and what they're willing to do. Because
Mhm.
I have seen scenarios where the current employee may not be getting that much salary, how much they're willing to hire a new person and give.
Yeah.
So those cases happen quite often, and it actually demotivates the current employees in the organization. So they are like, okay, you are willing to hire somebody from another company and give him 10K, 20K more, but I'm willing to work here. I've dedicated 3, 4 years of my career to your company, but you are still not willing to. So these kind of
Exactly.
things are actually to be bought up
Uh-huh.
and you should be open about it. But again, a way of talking, you never say, I heard you're hiring somebody and you've opened a rec with so and so budget. So you never, if you know details from whichever place, you never reveal your sources. So that's the most important thing. You don't reveal your sources, but
Sources.
you should be open in telling them that I heard you are hiring, but how about I have been performing, I enjoy my work, I'm looking for long term growth in your company. Is there
Mhm.
a way if I could have some salary raise or hike or some bonus, so
Mhm.
a way of putting it so they know that you are interested and guys, if the company wants to retain you,
Mhm.
they will go about it and they'll do it. So that is one of the retention strategies a lot of company follows,
I
which is
agree.
again a big topic. So yeah.
Agree. I myself have faced it at least a couple of times, I would say. So yes, I agree with whatever you were saying. It's yeah. But it does help like when you know it in advance so that you can take steps accordingly. So I think that way this webinar is very useful for people to know it in advance. Like otherwise with experience you would get it, but then the time has gone. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's too late then. Yeah.
Yes. So one other question is we have is like, as you were talking about the resources that don't reveal your resources. So the question is, what are some of the authentic and trustworthy resources to research existing salaries in the area? And is there also a federal database or to look for the salaries or something like that that you would recommend to research first?
Yes, I think the most authentic one which I have seen and I have realized in my experience is LinkedIn. So it does give you a salary range,
Mm-hmm.
and that is most authentic one because it's again a professional social networking kind of a site, and we do have a lot of people who are quite open about putting their salary, and that's how the survey is collected.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say LinkedIn is something that you should be following. And then you have Glassdoor, which is pretty much based on a lot of reviews. And it again, it does ask you for details about what your current salary is. And it gives you a graph and shows what your range should be
Mm-hmm.
and what a person in this location with this range is expecting
Mm-hmm.
and is getting. So I would say Glassdoor is another good website because it actually gives you more clear picture saying that suppose you're looking for a job in San Jose, for example, it gives you that with this role, the companies in San Jose are offering so much. So it gives you a very precise picture about what the salary is.
Which site
And
is that you said?
it's Glassdoor.
Glassdoor only? Okay.
Yeah, so Glassdoor does that. And there is this website called salaryexpert.com as well, which I think is majorly just focused on salary and stuff. So it does give you, it's again a survey that is collected from a lot of employees and, who are giving their data anonymously. So that also does help.
Yes.
And when it comes to FDA approved, I guess there are sites. I'm not pretty much aware if they are because I've not gone into that research ever. But I guess there are sites which actually do that, and I think I am not sure if a lot of people reveal the data over there because those
Yeah.
the federal sites goes to a more higher level, and these are like anonymous among
Yeah.
all the people living in the area or in any other state. So it's more
Yeah.
towards that. Yeah.
Yeah. So my personal question is like on this, does the company have any sort of background research done? Like how do they decide a budget, for example, for a position? Do they also just go through Glassdoor and LinkedIn and just look around? Or is there a specific way of kind of calculating the budget?
Yes, company does a lot of research. So company also researches your LinkedIn and Glassdoor to understand. But actually, what happens is when, like I mentioned about employee branding. So what happens is companies actually take anonymous survey from their own employees too to
Yes.
understand what is something that they're not happy about. Because what exactly happens is if I'm an employee in one of the company and I'm being paid so X and X, I
Mm-hmm.
may meet a friend of mine who is working in a similar role in
Yeah.
another company and I know they pay.
Mm.
So I'll be like, oh, my company is underpaying me. So I may communicate it to my co-workers and it just goes on in that manner. So when that word of mouth happens, so
Yeah.
the company is demotivated. So what end of the day happens is I will ask for my friends that okay, is your company having an opening?
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to the company which pays me better.
Yeah.
So normally companies do not research in the start. They start researching when there is employee attrition. So once they see that a lot of employees from a particular team or a particular group are leaving and looking for other opportunities, that's when they try to find out the reason behind. And most commonly, the reason is mostly the budget.
You can
And
say.
yeah, so this especially happened last year because of the pandemic. A lot of things changed. So
Yeah.
it's like the companies had to even let go of some of their employees and stuff. That's because the company is not making enough money that they
Yes.
can even have all the headcount that they have in the teams.
Mm-hmm.
So what the companies normally do is like I remember in New Dynamics we had this. We did have researches and surveys to understand what we are paying and
Mm-hmm.
what our competitors are paying. So we always did try to match that budget. But end of the day, again, it's on the company. If they do have that enough financing or enough,
Yeah.
I would say, income that they are making,
Mm-hmm.
that's when they can pay to the employees because
Yeah.
otherwise they will not be able to do it if they are not making that much at all. So
Uh,
yes, the companies do the research and they decide the data, the budget, and what different they should be doing in the company to keep employees happy. Everything is being decided. There are special teams which only does this to
yeah.
understand, to do survey, and to
Yeah.
make their employees happy.
Agree. Agree. Um, so you mentioned pandemic, right? So there is one question about how to ask a salary raise during this time of pandemic, or is it a good time to negotiate salary?
Yeah, this is a very good question. So I actually, I have seen a lot of companies right now are have reduced their budget and they have reduced this the amount that they should be giving for a particular role because of the pandemic, giving the same reason that it's remote work, you're not commuting,
Mm-hmm.
and there are a lot of things that you're managing at home, giving a lot of reasons, conveyance charges, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if a role deserves something like 100K, the company is giving 90K. So they are like saving 10K there. So a lot of companies have reduced their budget on this. And it's a great question because you kind of know that you have been under offered than what exactly the company has the capability of giving.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you negotiate there?
Yeah.
So you have, again, over there the point comes, the company will of course use terms of pandemic and headcount, but we have good work and all that. So again, how you sell yourself. So during pandemic, how you sell yourself. So you got to be firm and you have to sell yourself, saying that okay, I have had so much, and I have had these accomplishments in my career. I have worked on so and so, and I have seen your project. When I say research about the company, I have seen that your company is hiring for so and so product, and I have this experience. I'm sure I can contribute in such and such way,
Yes.
and it would be, and that's the way you make an ask. So I would say that this should be an okay amount.
Mm-hmm.
Worst scenario, they may even come back asking that, okay, so what's your current pay? So
Mm-hmm.
that's when you say that I would not want my current pay to be deciding that, but of course I deserve a little more. So that's the way when you're making an ask. But I would say do not hesitate thinking, okay, it's a pandemic situation and I should be asking for, should I negotiate or not? There is always scope to negotiate. Negotiate. Worst scenario, what's going to happen? The company is going to say no. And they're
Yeah.
going to come up with more reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But if they say no and they come up with no reasons, it's, if you like the role, go for it. Because honestly, the market right now, there are a lot of applicants.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are a lot of applicants, that means there's a lot of demand. I mean, for the job. So
Yeah.
if you are willing, if you are more firm on negotiating, there are chances that you may lose your chance.
Yeah. It's supply versus demand. So if supply
Yeah.
is more than demand, so the
Yes.
chances are, yeah. Yeah.
So my suggestion would be like you should give a try, but do not be very forceful on it. That okay, I want this amount only. Give a try. You like the role, things will change down the line. You can certainly negotiate, and you can work out.
Agree, agree. But you would anyways won't get if you did not ask. So it's
Yes,
always worthwhile asking and then
exactly.
see where it goes. So yeah, very good. Um, okay. So one question we have is, does the employer get any benefit for hiring an employee below the allocated budget? So you mentioned like we have a range, right? Like the company has a range that for such and
So,
such
sorry,
position.
your voice actually cut off.
Okay, let me repeat. Can you hear me
Yes,
now?
yes, yes.
Okay. So the question is, does the employer get any benefit of hiring an employee below the allocated budget? So for example, you said that there is always a range for a position, such and such position, for example, 90 to 110K. So bringing an employee who just asked 85,000 upfront, maybe he made a mistake or for whatever reason. Is there a benefit for the company like that, or does that happen? And what is the dynamics in that scenario?
Mm, okay. So, okay, good question. so,
We
okay,
have a good audience, it seems.
so actually, what happens is yes, an employer, if they have an allocated budget and the employee is asking for so and so amount, and
Mm-hmm.
if it is less than what actually their budget is, obviously they're saving on a lot more money. So,
Yes.
like you mentioned, for example, the candidate asked for 85K, but their
Mm-hmm.
budget, for example, is 100K. So you can see
Yeah.
the difference that they have actually saved that money.
Again.
So, so what they do is that they may use that money for hiring somebody else whom they think will be like, okay, we'll be expecting more. So that's like a buffer amount that they keep.
Mhm. Okay.
So, is the question kind of like, is it beneficial for the employer? So yes, it is
Yeah.
beneficial for the employer. They are very glad if a person asks them something which is less for them. They do not have to go overboard. In fact, actually, the employers are very smart when it comes to talking about money. If
Yeah.
they tell you a range, they never tell you the range which exactly their budget is. For example, if the budget is somewhere like 100, we will pay between 100 to 125K.
Mm-hmm.
They do not reveal that. If that's what comes from the hiring manager, they would say 100 to 120K. Why? Because they want to keep a little bit of buffer that what if that person says no, a little more than 120K. So that
Mm-hmm.
1 or 2K will help them, to go to the max.
Yes.
So, so that is one thing. So this is all like the number game, the strategy that they use to communicate it to the person. So what happens is now the recruiter communicates, okay, the budget is 100 to 120. But what if the recruiter has not mentioned and they're asking your expectation and you're like, I'm fine with 100K. The recruiter will note down, okay, 100K, and he'll go happily and let the hiring manager know. That,
Yeah.
okay, this person is happy to take in 100K. So maximum maybe to make the candidate happy, if they have cleared the interview process, they would be like, okay, we are your expected was 100K, just to make him feel more good. We are willing to give you 105 or 108. So you will be like, oh, I got so much more than what I asked for, and you are more than happy there. But once you join the company and your coworkers are making 115 or 120, and you'll be like, okay, I'm very down in the salary slab that actually this role gets.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I
So
agree.
that's how it actually works.
Yeah. So in those instances, like when there are two candidates, probably one has just a little bit of more skills, or not like a super edge over other candidate, but little bit edge. But one has asked lesser salary or lesser compensation, and the other has asked a little bit more. So how those decision making work?
Yeah, this is so what exactly happens is, so suppose there are this again works in a different scenario. If it's like, it's different if it's for contractor hiring and a full-time hiring.
Mm-hmm.
So why it differs is, like, if you take contractor hiring and there are two contractors that need to be hired for the same role, and even if one is better than the other, there'll not be any difference in the pay. So a lot of companies have it such that they pay all, suppose there are five contractors in the team, all the five are paid equally, be it what matters.
Yes.
Be anything, they are always paid. So a lot of companies have this. For example, Google had that. So a lot of all the contractors were paid equally, and they had this thing with their, when you are a contractor with a certain client, you always have a third party which actually generates your paycheck. So they have that percentage markup with them where they subtract and they make sure that all of them are paid equally. So suppose XYZ is a contractor, and he is getting $4 or $5 more than the rest of the people. So that is by his third party agency which is paying it. So they are paying out of the pocket. The client is not paying it to them.
I see.
Yeah, but what happens is, when I say companies like Google, we do have an auditing process that happens where they make sure that all the contractors are paid equal, because it should not be like, someday if I'm paid $4 or $5 more, I tell my colleague that, hey, I get so much more than you. So they'll be like, oh, my agency is not paying me that much more, but it's again on the agency percentage. So to keep it all equal, companies normally give it same. But when it comes to full-time hiring, that is, which involves your benefits and everything overall, there can be slight changes, but it won't be very different. It would be major. It would be somewhere like 1 to 5K. That's it, not more.
Okay.
Because what happens is, it again demotivates, because you never know who communicates what and how it is being generated. So if a person is paid somewhere like 150 and his colleague is a little more or little less, 153. So even if you come to know, you'll be like, okay, it doesn't make difference, because in 12 months it actually doesn't make any difference in 12 in the paychecks at all. So you're like, okay, 153, I'll make that amount from somewhere. So it's like that. So they never keep a vast range, like, okay, unless there's a grade level difference or a total overall difference. You
I
know,
see.
so that's why companies have the salary slab somewhere like, okay, at this role the person will be paid from 100 to 100, and you can take like 30. So if a person has less experience, but in that range, they'll start with 108, then it will go to 113, slow and slow, so that every year when the performance appraisal happens, even the employees need to feel that, okay, he is being given increments. So when you give like 3-4 thousand increments, that actually helps. So the person who has more experience is on the higher end of the slab. So he is being paid a little more, and that's how, once he reaches the slab, then he goes to the next level. So that's how it
I see.
actually works. Yeah, a lot of companies have that policy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's very nice to know, because I think at the time of appraisal, that's something you should consider, and how that works, the ranges of the compensation and when you will get promoted. Because if the gap is too much, you might get the title, but you are not getting paid what you would have. Yeah, agree. Let me see what else we have. I think you answered it, but I'll ask it anyways, because we have, I think, what, 1 more minute for the question. I think it would be the last question. So the question is, have you seen any sort of discrimination when it comes to like nationality or visa or local versus like immigrants, or any sort of differentiation? Because sometimes the employer also has to budget for, the visa processing or any other instances, so that they can also keep some amount aside for those things, which they might not have to do for the local people of, regional nationality. So have you seen any sort of discrimination or changes or any sort of calculations based on that?
So actually what happens is there is nothing like discrimination and all, because companies do not do that when it comes to pay range. But they do have to keep an extra amount when it comes to if somebody needs immigration and all that. So first thing is, if a company doesn't have a budget, they do reveal it very crystal clear that we will not be sponsoring any visas at this point. So if anybody requires that, they will not be applying to that role. And this especially happens in non-technical roles.
Yeah.
So because they mostly prefer somebody who is either local or a citizen or a green card holder. And because the company doesn't have, because for non-technical roles and such, companies will not have budget to actually sponsor, because it does have a lot of amount that goes from their department's budget and they have to even pay. So it gets very clumsy for them to manage. But also when it comes to the, I would say technical roles, what exactly happens is like, they do not discriminate, but I would say if they really like the candidate and are willing to, have the candidate onboarded, the salary would not be again very different, but it would be again, I would say maybe 3 or 4 thousand, maybe different, where they'll try to balance it in, paying for accommodation or for relocation, or maybe, whatever expenses that they have, when they have the candidate transport. So more majorly it's this relocation and your visa transfer. But what I've seen is when the companies pay for relocation, they normally pay a very good amount. So even if they are paid a little less than any of the person who did not require that, it kind of balances out.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So because now companies, like I said, if the company, you should know your value. If the company really likes you, they go overboard and they do that. They're willing to do it more than
Okay, so I think since we are running out of time, we will stop here. We won't take any more questions, but it has been really engaging and very useful conversation. I'll just go back to your slide to conclude this session, which say know your worth. But sometimes, there is a difference between what you are getting and what you deserve. So your session actually helped us realize like how to know your worth. So we really appreciate and thank you so much for being here with us this evening and sharing your insight and experience with us. It has been really great to have you at Bharatiyam today. So thank you so much, Nidhi ji.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversations we had.
Thank you. So with that, last thing is we have Abhimanyu ji with us who would like to share some announcements. So Abhimanyu ji, over to you.
Yes, just wanted to mention that we have upcoming events next month in April and May, and we'll be conducting more webinars, as well as the COVID effect goes away, we will be planning to have more events at local level. So we will start having chapter level activities throughout US. We have many people from across all over US in major cities. So if you are interested, if you want to help out, if you want to be part of Bharatiyam, take more active lead, or if you have any questions or suggestions, we're always open to it. Please feel free to send anything. You can email it to us or send us through WhatsApp. Another thing is we are planning to have an active WhatsApp group where we can ask questions or help each other through our professional career. So it could be asking for jobs advice, any other questions, need references, etc. So check out your email. We'll share the link for that WhatsApp group, so you can become part of it, join it, and help each other out there. So that's all I wanted to share. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Abhimanyu ji, and thank you, audience, for joining us. With this, we conclude our session. Hope you have a nice evening. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
You can put up those slides, Vidhi ji. That's Vidhi.
Okay, I should be putting it here.
No, I think we can ask Vidhi. We had some intro slides that we can just quickly put up.
Okay.
Okay, I think Vidhi dropped. No worries. Okay. No, okay, cool. So I think, yeah, we just wanted to chat quickly. Yeah, Vidiji. Mm. So I think maybe we can do a little introduction quickly amongst ourselves also. So Nidhi, these are all of us here.
Mhm.
I think, hold on. Give me, I think, just removing one or two people. Okay. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think let everyone unmute themselves. Okay. Give me a second. Looking for options. Give me. It's not letting me. Oh, there's a security settings. Yep. Okay. Now everyone should be able to unmute themselves and talk. Okay. So we'll just quickly introduce ourselves and we'll go around it. Maybe we can start with Rishabh. Yeah. So.
Hello everyone. Hello Nidhi. I'm Rishabh Keskar. I did my master's from Drexel University and currently I work for GoSale as an application engineer based in Bangor, Maine.
So Abhimanyu ji, I think we are still live on YouTube.